Hi everyone, welcome to our event. This event is brought to you by DataTalks.Club, which is a community of people who love data. We have weekly events, and today is one of such events. If you want to find out more about the events we have, there is a link in the description. Click on that link, check it out, and you'll see all the events we have in our pipeline. Then do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way you'll stay up to date with all future streams like the one we have today. And then last but not least, we have an amazing data community, Slack community, where you can hang out with other data enthusiasts. So check it out too. During today's interview, you can ask any question. There is a pinned link in the live chat. Click on that link, ask your questions, and we will be covering these questions during the interview. So that's the usual intro. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to open the questions we prepared. And so there is this new Zoom feature called AI Companion. I have not used it for podcast, but I'm giving it a try. So let's see how well it works for generating a summary. But anyways, Anusha, if you're ready, we can start.
Sure, we can start.
This week, we'll talk about how AI is transforming the finance function, helping teams move beyond spreadsheets and slow systems towards faster data-driven decision-making. We have a special guest today, Anusha, co-founder of Auralytix. Auralytix. I should have trained this. I don't think these automatic speech recognition systems will be able to recognize me trying to say this. Can you say it again? Auralytix?
Auralytix. Aura means gold. Analytics, golden analytics.
Aura means gold.
Yeah.
But you also have this aura, which is like a spiritual thing around you, right?
Yeah, exactly. That too. Like, the spirit or the angel.
Okay. So this is an AI-driven finance platform that gives CFOs and finance teams clarity and speed without adding complexity. Your work focuses on using AI to augment, not automate finance, and combining advanced analytics with compliance, explainability, and trust. So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Alexey.
So before we go into this thing, and this is also, so when I speak to founders, I really like learning their story. So for me, it's I also run this community. It's also a business in a way. So for me, it's always interesting to know the people's careers and how they became founders, because I think this is such a leap of faith, right? When you have a well-established job and then switching from that to being your own boss, it's always very interesting for me. So tell us your career journey so far.
Sure. So just a small intro. I'm Anusha. I'm based in Hamburg, Germany, and I originally come from India. And so how did this journey has started? I mean, I was a chartered global management accountant from UK, and I used to work in Deloitte and Paraxel, Auralytix. So they're like multiple companies.
Was
And
it
I
like
started,
audit or what you were doing?
so I started my my career as an auditor. So it was like internal auditing and also sometimes statutory or external auditing.
Books, right? What do auditors do? I know they come in suits. In the previous company where I worked, it was Auralytix. Sometimes I would see people in suits. They were all from Amsterdam for some reasons, and I could see, okay, these are auditors. And then I would speak to them, and yeah, they were for Deloitte, but I never really understood what they do. Like, what is the job? I know they work insane hours, and they get insane money. That's all I know.
A good way to put it. So what do auditors do? Actually, is that in your companies, right? You have like lots of processes and lots of financial data, non-financial data, operational data, and in order for the government to trust or the authorities to trust, you are paying your taxes properly. There is no fraud going on. There is no, there is no lack of any compliance in your company. So there must be someone like a third party who has to reassure that for you, right? So that is what actually auditors do. And also in auditing, there are like two separate sets. one is internal auditing, so that the company itself, as far as a management, to understand everything is going smoothly, there is no problem. And then the external auditing, which is just now you have explained, the suit guys from Deloitte, PwC, or someone like that, who come and test the processes. You
Mhm.
see if it is everything is working properly. You see the substantiveness of your financial data, and you see and authorize it saying that everything is going fine, and these are your audited financial statements. And yeah, so basically, it's not like a value added real role, but it's really helpful as a holistic perspective to understand if everything is going on smoothly or not in your business.
So for me, if I run a business, I would need an auditor to understand that nobody is doing anything fishy, right? Just to make sure
Yes.
that we're clean, we're paying all the taxes, all books are clear, things like that. Because maybe something is happening, but me as somebody who is running the company, I'm not aware of that. So that's why I want a third party to come and inspect everything.
Yes, exactly. And this is also like a trusted party who is really like very high qualified person who knows the background, and also the government can also believe you,
Mhm.
right? So when it is audited by an auditor, it means really high trust. Also
Mhm.
for the so that the government knows that you're paying your taxes properly, you're maintaining all your compliances properly. So it's like win-win for both parties.
Mm. Yeah, must be a difficult job, right?
Yes,
Because you
yes,
need
it
to
is.
go and
Yeah.
like check all the books and then make sure people are not hiding everything, right? Anything.
Yes, yes. It's really tricky because people get sometimes offended when you
Mhm.
ask certain questions. Hey, who is this girl? This girl
Mhm.
is asking me all these questions.
Mhm.
I'm like 30 years old, experienced guy, and
Mhm.
it's sometimes also a bit insecure. So you
Mhm.
have to face this kind of issues. But the most beautiful part of this role as an auditor is that you get to meet so many businesses. You will understand. I mean, you have to have this amazing knowledge to be able to solve like everything, like like a picture from the top. You see all the processes going on, and you see and detect, okay, hey, this is what something which is not going perfectly. This is what is the bottleneck. And this is a really great job, I would say. I really used to love, but again, it's really labor intensive because it's like you have to travel a lot. You have to go to insane locations because, especially if you're doing any manufacturing companies audit, or some construction companies audit, you go to like these small villages, small places, and you stay there for months together. So
Mhm.
it's like a great experience, and sometimes you burn out as well.
Did you do this in the UK or in India?
Yes, so my qualification comes from UK, but as an auditor, I worked in India.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did this for some time, and what did you do next?
Yes. So after the auditor role, then I moved into the corporate finance role. And yeah, in this corporate finance role, it's called as financial controller. So financial controller sits in the other side of the table of the auditor. And so I moved to Germany because of some personal reasons, and it is really hard to get a job in auditing in Germany without the language, without
Mhm.
German skills, and you need like C1 level of German. Again, it's like you need like takes a lot of time to get there. So I thought, okay, what's the next best option for me is to become like a controller with a specialization of SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley's, and I found exactly such job. So then that's how I moved from auditor to corporate finance.
Mhm. Interesting.
Yeah.
How's your German now?
It's good. Yeah, I
Good.
can now speak perfectly. So when I started my job, yeah, my team was like full of all this amazing women who couldn't speak so much English. So
Mhm.
they made sure that I learned German as soon as possible. So I guess within 1 or 1.5 year, I became like really good at German.
So now you have C1.
Oh, yeah, I didn't check my level, but I would say, yeah, I can talk like normal
hmm
person now.
hmm So if you wanted now to work as auditor, your German level would allow this.
Of course, it should. Yeah.
hmm Okay.
Again, if they
Well, it's
ask me to
impressive.
write an exam, I don't know. But like a conversation, I would say, yes, I can.
Yeah, for me, I recently, it was more than a year ago, I got a B2 certification. It was not the simplest thing because, one thing is speaking German, another way is passing a test, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
at the end now, even though I have this certificate, sometimes in everyday situations, I'm like, wie bitte? So it's even though I have this certificate, it doesn't mean I necessarily have a B2. But anyways, it's good
Yeah, yeah,
that
it's the same
you,
thing for it's the same
yeah.
thing for me. I mean, as a certificate, I also have like B2, but I would say it doesn't matter as long as you can talk, you can understand, and you can ask people, können Sie bitte ein bisschen langsam
Mm,
reden or something like
yeah.
that. I guess you will get there.
For how long have you been in Germany?
I guess I think it's 2018, yeah, around 7 years.
Okay, that's impressive. Good. I mean, so now for me it's impressive because for me it took a lot of time before I started learning German. Right, 8 years before I actually enrolled into my first course in school. Yeah, now my German is of course better. But anyway, so you were working as in corporate finance role as financial controller.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide to go solo? Was it after this, or you did something else in the between? In between?
Yes, after the financial controller role, I moved into a much bigger role, like lead finance for Central Europe or finance business partner for Central Europe role for a UK-based company. And yeah, it is also like into corporate completely. It was less a controlling, more into strategy. It is a strategic role actually. So it's like the next level of the controller. And yeah, but the thing is, even though you are in a strategic role, most of the time you still spend like around 80% of your time like not actually analyzing the data but chasing it, like every month used to be like a feeling of like a groundhog day is like, hey, waiting for the updates, hey, sitting in the meetings to ask what's going on, like stitching the numbers from 10 different spreadsheets and still feeling okay whether the data is like complete or is it like current. So it was
Mm,
like the most frustrating thing, and for me, it was like wasn't the workload, but it is like the over dependency on the people to just get the data and how disconnected, finance had become from the point of view of what's really happening in the operations and the business. And and to be frank, Alexey, you have this amazing modern ERPs and CRMs, BI tools, but still finance is not there yet. It is still like reactive. It was still never ahead. And about this time, I think yeah, like couple of years before in 2023, I read about this great company called Databricks, how
mm,
it unifies, data across silos so companies could move from chaos to insight. And it struck a chord with me because in finance, we face the exact fragmentation, but not like, but with like more like stricter compliance and stricter audit trials and judgments involved. And I thought, okay, if Databricks could transform like how your huge enterprises can use the data and connect the systems, and why can't there could be another system for finance people which could do
mm,
like a similar thing but in a finance perspective.
mhm,
So yeah, then I think yeah, this year I decided, okay, if some other company is not doing it, let me do it. Let me start. And yeah, so I am like never an engineer.
mm,
I'm always a finance person. But last 2 years have like changed a lot in myself. Like now I think from both perspectives, like, also data perspective, like how you guys think and how a finance, because I know the pain points of the finance and how
Mm.
we want to see the data as. And yeah, that
Yeah.
has actually changed me.
Yeah, I want to talk about this, but maybe a little later, because you mentioned this word ERP. And for me, I worked all my career as a software engineer first and then data person. And sometimes I needed to deal with finance. Let's say we wanted, there is this fabulous term called, how do you call it? Procurement. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know if you were a part of that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But when we engineers needed a tool, as somebody who was rather high level, I needed to go through this process. Like I was responsible for actually making sure that now we get this tool, we paid for this tool, and then I was also overseeing the adoption of this tool. So this is where my world and the finance world, like I started, how to say, I became aware of this. And for procurement, we used this wonderful system called Coupa. I hated my life when I had to use it, because I don't know if it was created for humans or for who. But to me, like it didn't seem the state of things in the finance, at least in the company where I worked, was very human oriented, let's say. Um, Maybe more process oriented or whatever, but like for me as the end user, I suffered and I had to go through tons and tons and tons of manuals that the finance team prepared for us, for people outside of finance. So I could request the tool, I could make sure it is paid for, and things like that. So the team had to write tutorials for using Coupa, right? So it was insane. Mm, so I was wondering what was it for you and how is the state there right now and what is this ERP thing that you mentioned?
I would say there is no much change. So it doesn't matter if it's an amazing ERP like SAP or amazing ERP like IFS or
What is
Navision.
ERP?
Oh, sorry.
What is ERP? It's
So
enterprise
it's like,
resource
yeah,
something, right?
resource planning. Yeah.
Okay.
So what an ERP does is that in company there are like lots of processes, right? Like you have like finance process, you have
Mm,
procurement process, you have selling process, and you have operations. You have for manufacturing again, you have the supply chain logistics process, and the data is everywhere, and you need to somehow put data in one place in order to build the reports, to connect the dots, to understand what's going on in which area. So you use like one platform to integrate all this data. So that is the main purpose of what ERP does, and it exactly doesn't do it in
mm,
reality. It is like um, a black box system with huge manuals, and you need like lots of expertise even to make like smaller changes in it. And that's why there is like a lot of dependency on spreadsheets or Excel files, and that is where the problem actually starts.
okay,
So
but let me stop you just for a second. I want to
yeah,
understand the purpose of this thing. So
yeah,
let's say I run a small company and we're selling whatever, shoes, let's say. So for
yeah,
me, every time I make a sale, I need to record this sale somewhere for bookkeeping, right? So eventually
yes,
all this data is supposed to end in the ERP system, right? So then
yes,
if somebody, an auditor or maybe internal finance person comes, they can see, okay, this is how much money we spent, this is how much money we earned, this is how many shoes we sold, right? So then for you, it's clear what is happening, right? And you, especially if you're in a strategy role, you can quickly pull all the numbers from different, I don't know, branches, and then you can put it together and you can say, okay, our strategy is this. That's the ideal world, right?
exactly. Yes, yes.
But what is
And
like, what's the mismatch? You mentioned spreadsheets. Like, why do we need them if everyone is putting data in the ERP system and then at the end you just pull it from there?
yeah. Yeah, it would have been amazing if it is that easy.
Mhm.
But so what happens is that so each and every ERP system has like a rigid structure, and they have like this huge system which is like a standardized. So it's like one size, which has to be fit for everyone with small alterations. So if my company, like you said, let us take this example of shoes company, right? So the shoes company is really intensive with inventory and working capital management. So inventory means the number of shoes we have, the number of shoes. So for you as a management, you need to understand which shoes are being sold properly, what size of shoes, which color, who is buying it, like males or females, who is buying it more, and how to sell better models, and which shoes like people are more interested in, or what is a trend which is going on outside, which I need to buy and keep the stock for when, for example, now Christmas is coming, and which shoes now I have to sell it off in the Black Friday deals, which are like not being sold right now. So, as a management, this is what you think, right? And if you go to the ERP, show me one report which gives any of this information. It doesn't, because ERP is made for compliance purpose. ERPs are made to store the data, but not with not the purpose or intent to analyze the data. And that is where your Excel sheets come, your BI tools come, your hundreds of other tools like your Coupa or whatever, like the procurement tool, this tool, that tool, these all come. And when all this information is there, as a CFO, I still can't decide how to lead my strategy because this data is so scattered, right? That at one particular point, I cannot exactly understand what's going on in my company. And by the time my colleagues, like a financial controller or a manager or an analyst, brings all this data together and turns me into insights, either the Black Friday sale is already over or the
Mm.
Christmas is already over and I can't do anything, and I am now falling behind my competitors. And this is where the enterprises are winning because the
Mhm.
enterprise have a lot of money to invest in these kinds of tools, and they use these tools to create the demand, to create that strategy, to sell more, to get more profitability, and to act in a better way. And for the small to medium sized businesses, or even until like 500 million euros company, I would say, if I would treat it as a medium, even for them, it's really hard to understand these patterns because
And
the
the
data doesn't
complexity,
speak.
yeah, the complexity. So, as I understood you, correct me if I'm wrong. So the data is actually in ERP. So this is a
Yes.
database. We
Mhm.
are recording all the transactions. We are keeping an eye on our how do you call it, stock, right? So we see our inventory. But this is not enough. The data is just sitting there. It's not very easy to get it out, right? Take it out. So
Yeah.
then for that, what we need is an analyst who would set up some sort of process of getting data out of there and creating some sort of dashboard or creating some sort of report so that you know that for this Black Friday that is coming soon, I need to get rid of these shoes. So I need to put some discount there, right? So you need an analyst and some
Mm,
other maybe technical person who would pull the data and then make this report, right? So that's the how it is
no,
now.
it's not only that. It's also about incomplete data. So
Uh,
so
why is it
the
incomplete?
systems are, yeah, exactly. The systems are so rigid that even to make any minor changes, you need like an army of consultants to make the
Uh-huh.
changes in the ERP. So people, instead of investing because they are really expensive, right? So these consulting hours, so they accept that okay, it doesn't work like that, and then they go to your manual processing, right?
Mm,
So it's not only about hiring like additional analysts to get the data
mm,
and transform it, but also it's about like the rigidity of the
mm.
ERPs where the data is never complete. So
Okay,
it's only
so
in that fixed form. That's
mhm.
it.
So when I buy SAP or whatever, I don't know what are the other ERP systems. So then they have a certain flow, right? So this is how you enter data. This is what kind of data you enter there. And if I want to go outside of the typical happy path, then I have problems, right?
Yeah.
So I need to know, maybe they use some sort of like Visual Basic, there is some programming language, right, where you
Yeah.
can customize it. But also finance people are not usually developers, right? And
Yeah.
then B, it's not the easiest piece of software to deal with, right? This is what I heard.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yes, it's
actually
true.
told me that if you want to make money working as a developer, become an SAP consultant.
Agree 2000% on it. Yes, because the thing is that so this is where is the biggest gap I see. So you as a finance person don't have this technical knowledge on how to transform your ideas into like the tools that you want to use or the data which you want to use. And here comes the picture of these external consultants. Some are really great, of course, but some are, yeah, just minting money for no reason because you don't know that one small thing. The companies actually spend like unanimous amount of money here, and again, this doesn't stop here. So if you think that okay, if I get this extra add-on done, maybe everything is like really amazing. No, it doesn't happen like that. Again comes another because the pace at which business are moving right now is so fast that these tools are not that do not have the same agility. They can't they don't scale accordingly. And that is where we know we actually are in need of some AI based ERPs and AI based platforms which actually can run at the speed of your business.
What by ERP? So instead of hiring and explaining uh, tell what I want to do, I just talk to AI. I formulate like I do this in ChatGPT. Then I hit enter, and then the AI system modifies my I don't know SAP form or whatever I use for um, capturing data. It modifies and it adds an extra field, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yes. So we need to have like a flexible system which can scale with the way the organization has changed. And and this is something I think is the future from my perspective.
Mm,
Yeah. Because until now this is the like the biggest suffering. So in my maybe I could give like an example. So uh, in one of the companies where I worked, the board has decided to change the ERP system, right? And they thought, hey, this is like the best ERP because we are into manufacturing, as into project management, and this works like really well. And they have invested like 1 million of euros, and with huge consultants, they have like transformed it. In 2 years, the data quality has reduced it so badly that we don't know what's happening anymore. And even the operation people are frustrated. Not only finance, also operations people are frustrated. And then it has hit back to the board and they decided to again change it to another ERP system. Now, this ERP system is again 3 times or 4 times more expensive. But this time, after a year of implementation, we were like better situation, but not there yet, what we have imagined. And then again, we started buying new add-ons of
mm,
whatever this ERP was not doing. So it's always like this is how a finance transformation project goes. So it's always like more add-ons, more this, and that is why you also have so much of data silos happening because your ERP doesn't solve everything. So what do we need? We need a system which is actually flexible enough and scalable enough with your business.
mm,
And I think this is one of the possibility with the AI, I
mm.
feel.
So you mentioned that it was your personal experience that you adopted a new ERP system, but in 2 years the quality dropped, so you had to switch again. My question is, like, why did the quality drop? Was it because what you started with 2 years ago, the company changed, but the processes of the ERP system did not change? That's why people were not putting the data they should be? Or was the process of putting data too complex, so people were lazy to do this? Or why was there a drop of quality in quality?
Yeah, so there are like multiple reasons. So one of the reasons was the data which they are putting in. So for us, for the management to decide on something, we look at like a many different perspectives, right? So looking at from the sales angle, looking at from the purchasing angle, or so you actually take decisions based upon like a lots of considering lots of data points. And how do you get into these data points? Someone has to input it, right? So someone has to input
Mm,
it in a specific way so that you can convert them into patterns, and these patterns become your insights, right? And this
mm,
is how the as a strategic role, you see, okay, this is what is happening. Okay, this could be the mitigation. This could be how I could deal with the situation. And what was happening at that time is that yeah, people don't know or couldn't understand where to put this data because that was a rigid ERP system, and you cannot change anything. You can just see those fields, whatever are available, you put that data. And for the strategy, you can't understand, okay, what's going on. Okay, let me give you an example. So our company used to work on contract basis. So you used to have contracts. So one of the major criteria to understand how the business performing is to understand how many contracts have been renewed, how many are new contracts, and how many people have closed their contracts. So this is like the basic information we needed to understand where to concentrate more, why the people are leaving, and in the system, you can't get it because the system is not built for that, simply. And it's a ERP system for a trading company and not for the purpose of like a project management company or for the contractual basis company. So if your systems are so rigid, you cannot get the data in the way you want. And what happens in such cases? You again start with an Excel file and you start filling this Excel file. At some point, you make one single mistake in your spreadsheet and everything is like wrong, right?
mm.
So yeah, these are, and this is one example. So our company was also like really heavy in fixed assets. This ERP didn't even have a fixed assets module. So what happens? All your fixed assets are in your Excel sheet,
Mhm.
and all your
Okay.
depreciation, amortization is in Excel sheet.
So you have the
So
main, you have a ERP for things that ERP can handle. So you enter data there, but also in addition to that, you have this Excel spreadsheet where you put extra data for which you don't have fields. And then somehow you keep this link in mind between this ERP system and spreadsheet. You know that these two records are supposed to be connected, but it's very easy to make a mistake, right? When you put
yes,
data
it is.
manually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it
Uh,
is not like a ETL file, like any
mhm,
translation file, which is automated or something. It's everything is manual. And this is also is the biggest minus point because, in accounting team, there is a highest iteration rate. So people leave the jobs very faster, basically in accounting teams. And as a person leaves, and it also hard to replace that person, and there is a gap by the time a new person comes, and the knowledge is gone.
Yeah.
Knowledge is gone with them. And again, you need like a consultant who can again set this up. And again, you need
Mm,
another consultant when this guy leaves out of frustration. So it
I
is
see.
like a, yeah, and there is no continuity of the data. And there is
So
no one
somebody
point of
started
source
this
of truth.
Excel spreadsheet, but they left, and then the new person who joined had no idea about the spreadsheet, right? But then
Exactly.
maybe there was a need to capture this data, so they started their own Excel spreadsheet with a different format. But
Yes.
then they left, and maybe another person, and then you end up with tons of Excel files. Nobody knows how they work, what's the current state, how to do historical data. It's basically a mess, right?
Yes.
So this
Exactly.
is
And
yeah, I just like for me, it's also interesting to know, okay, like there are all these problems, but how did it for you? Was it that you saw these problems and you thought, I can fix them? How did it happen to you? Like what was the process? How did you decide that you can actually, you mentioned Databricks, right? So you thought, okay, Databricks is doing this for data analytics, but nobody is doing this for finance. Maybe I will be the person who tries to do this for finance. Like, how did it work for you? Like, what was the thought process and what maybe how was the timeline for you? Like, what did you do in which steps? Because leaving a company, and I guess for your role, um, you were probably paid pretty well, right? So then leaving all this comfort, leaving all that, and taking the leap of faith to start your own company is very brave. So I want to know more about that.
Sure, sure. It's a good question. I think this has happened in around 2023, where I was so frustrated with my own work. We just completed our ERP migration to a new tool, and then we also had this another consolidation system. Alexey, how in the companies work, especially if they're global, is that you have your local ERP system, right? And on top of it, you have another ERP consolidation system. What is the ERP consolidation system? Is that for the management, they need like one single source of truth. Okay. And every country in every place has a different way of putting everything together in the accounts. But for the management, they need at a top level, right? So again, you have systems like SAP, EPM, or Tagetic, or HFM. So these are like consolidation tools for management reporting. And again, you do your forecast, budget, and everything at a consolidation system level, not at a local level. So wh- when I used to work about because budgeting and forecasting is your strategic task, not your day-to-day task, right? So you have to understand the patterns of the data. You have to understand how you're going to get your new customers, how many customers are going to stay with you, which suppliers you have to take care of. So there are like multiple considerations you need to think about when you forecast your sales, cost of sales, working capital, cash flow, everything. And you do everything, you analyze everything, you speak to hundreds of people, and then by the time you upload this data, you have 20 to 30 versions of Excel sheets, right? And in this 20 to 30 versions of Excel sheets, when you are sitting in a meeting and when someone asks, okay, why you have changed this particular product's service revenue this much, you have to go through all these Excel sheets to answer that question. So you can understand already you have spent so much time, but you still cannot tell exactly why you're doing that. And this should be actually solved by some kind of processes, right? And then at the time came the first public version of ChatGPT. It was not so great yet, but so I was like a bit also tech enthusiast. So what I did is that I know how the data looks, and I just prepared like a dummy mock-up file at the time because I know that I cannot upload my company's data into ChatGPT. So I prepared some mock-up data of some XYZ company. I loaded it and I asked AI to, kind of transform it and to understand the patterns. And it did pretty well from my perspective. I would say I would give out of 100, 55 points or 60 points. So, which is already, if you compare from my perspective, it is already saving me 60% of my time, especially in this crux hours of forecasting and budgeting, which is like really tough for finance people. And then I gave like two different sets of data from two different sources. Like I gave it sales orders data and then debtors data, right? And I asked it to form like a bridge a gap between these two. It did really well. And I felt it was like a magic for me at that moment.
Mhm.
Wow, it's like someone can do this. Is it real? And that's how the
So it was
interest
writing
for
code,
me.
right? Or how was it doing it for you? Was it writing
Um,
Python code or?
yeah. I mean, it's like I learned like basics of like Python, but yeah, mostly vibe coding kind of, I would say.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
before, right now, you can just upload the spreadsheets to ChatGPT and then it would analyze. You would not even need to look at the code. So you can see the code right now, but then at the end, it can just give you the final result. You look at the final result and you tell, okay, this is not what I meant, or okay, this is good, right? So then you don't even need to know Python now. But before,
yeah,
the tool wasn't
yes,
there, right? So you needed to actually
yes,
get the code,
yeah,
copy it, execute it, right? You needed to
Yes.
prepare the environment, and for somebody who is technical, installing Python is easy for me, right?
Yes.
But if I take somebody from the company where I worked, from the finance department, and I ask them to install Python, they're like, install what? Right? So for
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
probably it was
So
not the
I'm
easiest thing,
lucky in
right?
this. I'm lucky in this perspective because my husband is a software engineer.
Okay.
He works in a tech stack, a different tech stack, but
Uh-huh.
he knows this Python. He knows all the
Okay.
stuff. So he helped me to install, like a open source model and understand. Or he gave me some videos where I can learn.
Mm,
And at the time I had my baby. So I was in this maternity leave. So I
mm,
use it this time really well to learn everything, in also a bit from the technical perspective. And by the time the vibe coding level has started, so it has opened my into a new world. In fact, like me being non-technical, with the help of vibe coding, I could do whatever I wanted. So this was like wow, the moment of this wow thing which has happened with
yeah, that's
me.
cool. What did you use?
And
Was it just ChatGPT or you started using tools like Cursor?
yeah, I use Cursor and Lovable.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
at the
amazing.
time, Lovable was still very small, but somehow in one of I met one person. At the time, Lovable has just released its version 1 or something,
Mm,
and then I think I was the first non-technical user who used it Lovable, and then also yeah, Cursor as well. And
mm,
for the UI UX, I also used Framer, for instance, and then started like preparing like this mock-ups and.
mm.
Yeah,
What is
and
the
then
framer? Can you say it again? Framer?
yeah, Framer. Framer is
Framer.
really good to understand the UI UX
Oh, that's cool.
stuff.
Because what I do typically, if I want to understand how my UI may look like, I just ask
Mhm.
Lovable to design it, right? And then it would
Ah,
create a clickable mockup. So for
mhm.
me to just understand, okay, is this how I see my idea, or I want to iterate? And then I iterate in Lovable directly. I say, okay, like place this element there. I wouldn't say it's always doing the best job because it's also tricky. It needs to change the code. That's why I was thinking maybe there are better solutions for that that are more like for design stage rather than coding stage. Maybe Framer is the answer. I need to check. So thanks.
Yeah. So what I used to do is that first I'm a pen and paper kind of person. So first I used to put my idea in a paper on how I would feel comfortable to use any tool, right? Like, so where should be what? I used to put like make like a picture and then design it in the framer and then send this framer screenshot into the Lovable, and the Lovable used to translate it into the
Amazing.
UI UX.
And you
Yeah.
figured out all this by yourself with a bit of help
Everything
from
by
your partner.
myself, like no help from anyone.
Okay.
And at one point, after I met Dima, when I showed my prototype to him, he said, "Hey, this is already a product. We don't need to build anything," he said.
Mhm. So Dima is your co-founder, right?
Yeah, Dima is my co-founder. Yeah.
So maybe tell us how did you, so you had some idea, right? So you built this prototype, right? So you had this idea in mind that that you can transform the way things are done. So what was actually it? So what did you build in this in the mock-up you had before you started looking for co-founders?
Okay. So I started first with the surveying. So I know my pain point as a head of finance or as a finance business partner. I know my own pain points. But is it true also for the others, or is it only my case? So it was for me to understand before I made any decision and of leaving a job or switching or whatever. So I started surveying people. So I'm a finance person, so I have so many friends who work in the finance areas in different roles, like from accountants, analysts, managers, senior managers, CFOs, like every level of persons I
Mm.
know in my field.
How did you
So
do
I
this? Was it like user interviews?
yeah, exactly. To understand. So simple questions. What do you do in your real life as an accountant or as a controller or as a CFO or as a FD, whatever could be the role.
So
And
like
what is
walk
that
me
one
through your typical day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just walk me through what is like one or two biggest pain points you have and why it happens from your perspective. And if you were given this magic wizard, how which one would you like to solve it first? So these
Mm,
were like my questions, like basic questions, like a friendly questions. And then I interviewed like a lot of people. Out of them, 70% of the people had given me three big points, like which were like common. So if I asked like group of accountants, they gave me one point, which was really common. If I asked group of financial controllers, one point was really common. Like that, I got to got to understand that okay, there are three biggest pain points which need to be solved. And then I created mockups for these three,
mhm. What were
right?
the problems?
So one is the reconciliations problem. So
Because
you
this is
have
what you
like,
mentioned, right? The tone of Excel
yeah,
spreadsheets. Okay.
yes, yes. One is a reconciliations problem, which is like takes away 50 to 60% of an average accountant's life.
Mm,
And then I transformed this reconciliations into a tool, like, different sources of data, how the data looks, and how you transform this reconciliations into like a real tool. And then you will get like an output and how to again, so once it is done again it has to go back to the ERP system, right? So
mm,
without any like manual intervention. So how to build that? So this is how my first prototype looked. And the second prototype was consolidation. So the consolidation is again something which we just discussed. So for the management, they want to see like the management reports at a top perspective, and every entity from all over the world uploads the data and then transforms this. So there were also like lots of problems in it because they are also really rigid. They are not like scalable, and if they are scalable, they are really expensive. So how to solve this problem? And then I also solved like something like this. And then the third one is the biggest, like the most common around all the FDs and CFOs I spoke, is the problem of converting the data into insights. And and this is exactly what I faced too, because I was also in the strategic role. And this mock-up, when I have created, or first I wrote the idea and then made like a prototype. And this was like the most loved by every person I have shown. And then we decided out of these three to start with one, because you
mm.
cannot
So
develop
how
everything,
does it
right?
look
So
like? You just upload a bunch of files and then it tells you, okay, this is what is interesting there, right? Or how does it look
yeah.
like?
So how it looks is that it takes data from your ERP,
Okay,
your
so you
HRM
connect it
systems.
to ARP. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And it takes data from your CRM systems, your expense tools like TND systems if you have, and then it pulls the key data, interprets it, and then surfaces insights. So the goal isn't to duplicate the data. The goal is to make like existing systems finally usable for decision making. That's why I
Okay.
call it like augmenting the stack, not
Hmm.
automating the stack. And so one use case, maybe I could give an example, is that
Yeah.
so if you have forecasted, let us take the shoes example. So
Hmm.
Alexey has forecasted to sell like 1 million units of shoes, right? Or 1 million worth of shoes in this month. And uh, then now you are in middle of the month. Okay, now in 15th of October, the AI has seen that in the sales of this particular shoes, it saw only 100,000, and it's already like the middle of the month. Now you have only 2 more weeks for the sales, and immediately it checks into your order pipeline in the CRM system if you have orders which need to be converted. If it doesn't see there, then it will go into the invoicing module if it sees if there are any to be invoiced, because sometimes you make the sale but you don't invoice yet. So if it is there, or if it is in the manufacturing stage. So it will see in which stage it is, and then it will give you like a insight saying, hey, you have a risk of not meeting your forecast because it is not in the sales pipeline and it is not in the invoice to be invoiced. If this happens, then the impact on your cash flow and working capital is so much. So this is what
That's
insight
amazing.
is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is it something you define? Like, how does the system know what to look for? Is it something you, using your domain knowledge, define? Like, you need to look here and here, or how does it even work?
Yes. So for that, we have like a onboarding process to understand the context of the company. So every company is different. Yours might be shoe company, mine is a AI company, another company has sells or manufactures something else. So every company is different. So we have like a onboarding process where you understand first what it does and what are the sources of the revenue, what external data has the impact on? Does it have impact on your FX? Does it have an impact on your raw materials, which are like which where the prices change every day? Or who are the competitors? And so like that, we do like a first of all, we do like a onboarding, and then we understand what are the pain points of the company, and then transform them into our train your AI in such a way that it looks always into these patterns and then gives you an output.
Hmm. Understand. And when you were telling me your story, um, so for me, it seemed like you already knew what you were doing. Like you knew that, okay, I have this idea, but like, is this idea relevant? I actually want to build something, but what do people have as problems? Like, I want to help them solve their problems. So instead of just blindly doing whatever you were doing and then hoping that what you do would actually solve other people's problems, you had these interviews, you surveyed them to understand what you need to do. Like, did you know how to do this, or where did this knowledge come from? Did you study business or?
Um, so of course, CGMA is a like a chartered global management accountant. So it's like it's also like a highest qualification in the finance for the management people. And there you also learn strategic management and everything. Uh, and apart from that, surveying is one of the most important thing also in the within the companies to understand for what to change, especially for the change management, right?
Mm,
And surveying is one of the most powerful tool to understand from the employee's perspective or from the organization perspective what to change, how to change, and when to change, right? And so this is like a to go thing for me, and it's like yeah, out of intuition, I would say. And also, most of the time, I think I also, before thinking even about starting a company, I researched or I heard like lots of podcasts,
okay.
thanks to you kind of people who do these kinds of amazing podcasts,
Yeah.
to also have a holistic view of if you can really make such kind of tool, or if you can, is a technology enough right now,
Hmm.
or to even understand if this is doable or not.
Hmm.
And um, so what are the like the biggest failures? So also, what are the biggest problems founders face when making these kinds of platforms? And that is where also many founders said in those podcasts that hey, they missed to understand the market signals, or and they are making the tool for themselves but not for the real people out there.
Many developers have this problem. So for me, like, I have a problem, I am solving it for myself, but then turns out nobody needs it. Sometimes people are lucky and this is actually solving others' problems. But for us developers, we focus more on solution rather than the problem that needs to be solved. So I guess for you it was a little bit different, but also you listened to this podcast that suggested that, hey, be careful here.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Hey, so this is also one of the ways, yeah, I started the journey, and then after that, yeah, it's again your gut based decision, and also the data based decision to see,
Hmm.
okay, who are doing what, which company is doing what, how can you be different from them, what is your unique selling point could be, because when the time comes, you need to be able to also say that, right? Yeah, so that is how the idea of surveying came.
Do you remember any of the podcast names that you listened? Yeah.
So I used to listen to Y Combinator
Mhm.
podcasts, which were really good, especially for founder to founder, and it's really interesting. And on the tech side, I listen to Prediction Machines by Ajay Agarwal, Joshua Yons, and that was really good. In the human side, I love the Fearless Organization by Amy Edmondson. So it's about, creating the psychological safety, which is like relevant for the finance teams because
Mhm.
they always have a fear of them getting replaced by the AI.
Yeah.
So, and in generally, I also love, um, you know, Naval Ravikant. So
Mhm.
he's but for unit economics and all those kinds of strategies. Of course, yours too, your Data Talks Club, to understand the conversations about your data and the real work and how you transform your data into insights. I have also heard like your podcast too. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
they're like
It's pleasant to hear. And maybe last one before we finish. So, how did you meet Dmitry? So, Dmitry is a friend of mine, and this is how we got connected. Um, but Dmitry lives in Berlin, and you live in Hamburg. So, how did you meet?
so I guess me and Dimitri, we both met some years before, and at that time we didn't knew so much about each other. But at the time he was already a founder of another company,
Yeah, he's been a
and
serial founder.
serial founder. Yeah, exactly. I know him from some meetup actually. That just like hi, hello. But when I was started searching for a co-founder, there was one co-founder connect event
Mm,
happened in Berlin half a year ago or something like that, and there we met again. And I was like,
mm,
hey, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then I said about the idea. He said, I'm also looking for some because of some opportunity to,
mhm.
because he's really great in AI, ML, and, this MCPs,
Yeah, yeah.
all this stuff. So immediately we clicked. He was like, let's
Mhm.
do it. Let's start.
His
So
previous
first we
idea was
decided.
also similar. He wanted to use AI for finance, slightly
Yeah,
different angle, not for
yeah.
corporations, but I don't remember exactly. But yeah, I guess that's why he was already it was something on his mind, and yeah, that's cool that you met.
Yeah, exactly. And it was so random. We met and then we clicked right away. It was really funny as well to
Mhm.
work with him. He's like really, yeah. And yeah, so here we are. We registered our company together.
Ah, that's cool.
And yeah,
Where did
and
you
yeah,
register? In Berlin or in Hamburg?
in Hamburg, in Hamburg.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And what is this co-founder connect event? Is it some sort of like school, or it's more
I
informal?
think
You just
the
meet over
co-founders
pizza?
connect event is called SIBB, SIB co-founder meet. And there you have to first register yourself, and then they run through some algorithm of all the questions
Hmm.
of what you wanted to look in a co-founder, and
Hmm.
it suggests you like five top 10 people whom you can meet there, and then you meet. And yeah, luckily one of the
That's
guy
cool.
was Dima in that.
Hmm.
The algorithm was good.
Because I know sometimes there are these, I don't remember how they are called, but it's people who want to start something, but they don't know yet. Like you had an idea, but not always, not everyone has idea. Some they just know, okay, I want to start a startup. So they enroll into these some sort of schools or boot camps, whatever, where they meet with people. But then at the end, if you start a company of this process, you have to give a certain amount of shares to the school that was organizing it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So for this co-founder connect event, like, do they do any of that, or like, so they
Nothing.
just
It was
connect
free of
people?
cost. It was just
Okay.
a free of cost event. And yeah, I know about this kinds of events where they charge also
Mm.
equity, but luckily it was,
Okay.
and also I met one other guy, for instance, before Dima, and it was in a hackathon event. like a vibe coding hackathon or something like that. We met there. So I guess so my suggestion for someone who is non-technical and who want to meet some technical people is to go to hackathon. Don't worry about it that you're a non-technical person. Just talk to them. There are so many amazing developers and great people out there who would love to meet and who would love to transform these ideas into great products.
Yeah. Well, we have to wrap up. Time was fine. Like I really enjoyed this conversation, and for me, it's always interesting to talk to people who decided to start something on their own. This is always amazing. So that's why I didn't even notice how time passed. But yeah, sadly we have to wrap it up. Maybe before we finish, do you have any piece of, I don't know, maybe a course or video or book that you would recommend that had impact on you? Like when starting a company or when deciding on your idea, or in general that helped you in the last couple of years to be where you are right now?
Yes, of course. So one of the book I loved actually is the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. It's a great book. And of course, the podcast I already told you before. And also to have like to have like an entrepreneurial thinking. I am one of the book that helped, which is like the most famous one, is called Rich Dad Poor Dad. So it's a very famous book, and it actually changes your mindset from being a employee to an entrepreneur.
Interesting. This
So
is not the first time
how
I hear this recommendation. I need to check this book.
ah, okay. So how a rich dad thinks is like how an entrepreneur thinks. How a poor dad thinks is how an employer or employee thinks. So, and it has actually transformed my thinking actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I need
I
to check
recommend.
my Audible. Maybe there is a audio version of this book because I
Yeah,
have
I
like
guess it is very
6
famous
credits
one.
in my Audible. I need to find something interesting to spend them for. Okay, so Anusha, thanks a lot for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your story. I wish you all the best with your journey, and we will soon meet in Web Summit in Lisbon. So I'm
Lisbon.
really looking
Yes.
forward to that.
Me
And thanks
too.
everyone for joining us today too. And yeah, well, I guess that's it for today.
Yeah, it
Thanks.
was amazing talking to you, Alex. It was amazing. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy that my first podcast is really,
Yeah.
like such a cool conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah,
You'll
see
have
you
a lot
soon.
more cool conversations.